Today it's aloha and welcome to Good Morning Pattaya, Pattaya Channel's very own breakfast show for reasons that will become apparent very shortly. I'm your host, Nick Pendrell, and joining me is my co-host, Mr. Dave Durham.
Good morning, Nick. How are you? Aloha to you as well.
Aloha to everybody.
I didn't bring the grass skirt, so.
And the reason why we're wearing these, what you call them, lei?
Yeah, they're called leis.
Lei is because our guest today is from the wonderful island of Hawaii in the form of Mr. Bobby Brooks. Welcome.
Thank you very
Morning,
much.
Bobby.
Thank you.
Thank
Aloha.
you very much for bringing the lei.
Yeah, every Friday in Hawaii is Aloha Friday, and everybody gets a lei. So
Really?
we're on Friday today, so I thought it'd be appropriate to bring a lei.
That's very kind of you to bring the gifts and brightening up our studio. They actually match our flowers in the corner quite nicely.
That's cool.
It's good that we got the right tone.
Cooler coordinated.
But we're not here to talk about Hawaiian customs, are we? We are talking about something a little bit more serious, which is the American voting system.
Correct. This year is a year for, it's a biannual year.
Right.
There's no presidential elections, but there are congressional, some senatorial elections, and all the House of Representatives and most of the governors in America are being elected this year.
Right. So what is you have some political experience yourself?
Yeah, I'm a former senator candidate for my particular party. In 2004, I won the primary election, was endorsed by my party to, Dan Inouye, pretty well-known senator who passed away last year, and Dan Akaka, who stepped down last year. So I went through the process, I've done it, I stay continuing to be involved from here and going back to Hawaii. I just came back 2 weeks ago from 3 months being there campaigning.
Right. Tell us a little bit about the process, because a lot of our viewers are British and non-Americans, and just take us through the process of what happened. Did one day you thought, I want to get into politics? To me, that's such a huge thing. How would you even get started in such a thing?
That's a great question. It's a big commitment. Even at the very smallest level, you basically have to dedicate, if you're going to be serious, you have to dedicate at least 4 to 5 hours a day before you get into the primaries, which is where basically the primaries are where all the candidates who filed. You can become a candidate by just going to the Election Commission, getting 15 signatures in your district, and saying, okay, I'm going to run for this party in this seat. It's a district. There's 52 districts in Hawaii.
Right.
And so you do that, and then so you might have 12 people from one party. And we can't have 12 people on the ballot in the general election. So the primary election, which in Hawaii will be held in August, and they're varied throughout the states. They start in March and finish in September.
Right.
That basically blows it out to the point where you only have 2 people, or maybe 3, depending upon what parties have the most votes. But 1 person from each party going to the general election.
At that stage, Bobby, do you have a team around you, or is it still just yourself?
No, it's always the team from day one.
Okay.
That's part of the process. You can do this on your own, but let me assure you, it is a very difficult task. And unless you're a major candidate, presidential, senatorial, congressional, you're probably going to have to pay some staff to help you.
I was going to say, what sort of stage does that, with these people that run for candidate, I mean, what kind of stage does it come in where you have to find funding or get funding to run for your position?
Well, the first thing you do is you pull papers from the Election Commission even before you've put your name in to be voted, because they have requirements that you must report certain amount of monies that come in, who gave you that money, and you have to report it twice a year. Okay, so the next cycle is July. Okay, so you go through this process. You start your campaign. Okay, you try and get contributions. You try and get volunteers to help you out, and then you're off and running. And it can run from T-shirts to, most of the smaller candidacies don't have the budget for TV. However, social media is a big part of it today.
Absolutely.
It's extremely huge. I'm a big fan of social media for this particular purpose, because like in Facebook and like in Twitter, you get followers, and every time you tweet something out, they'll tweet it, and they might tweet it to their followers, and it's kind of like a huge cycle.
Yeah, I can understand, but I'd imagine politics is all about connections. So.
You're exactly right, and that's part of the reason you have to start 2 years in advance.
Right.
So once you get through the primaries and you've got your candidates for each party, then you'll have the final and general election in November.
Right.
And in the general election, normally what happens, it's all held on one day throughout the entire country. New York will start off first by putting out numbers, and then Hawaii will be last.
Right.
Now, one of the problems we have in Hawaii is they start putting out numbers in New York, which is 6 hours ahead, and people still haven't voted in Hawaii yet.
Yeah, sure.
So that's been a little bit of a challenge for a lot of Hawaii people because they're saying, oh, well, why bother because so-and-so so far ahead?
Yeah.
And that's kind of far from the truth. Hawaii's its own little machine. It's very different. It's the 50th state, hence Hawaii 5-0. So, people got to, stay focused on what they want to do and just do it.
When you're going for these positions, Bobby, and surely you have to decide what you're going to be sort of fighting for. That's got to be looked into very carefully, sure, because a lot of guys are out there trying to get the same position as you want at the end of the day. So how do you pick what you're going to fight for?
Okay, so issues, for example.
Issues.
Right. Okay. My biggest issue is homelessness in Hawaii. When I left there after the election in 2004, moved back here, I went to school in Bangkok, so I'm kind of from here. There wasn't that much homelessness. But through this cycle of recession and, the bank failures and what have you, there's a tremendous amount of homelessness that's in Hawaii right now. Tremendous. I mean, where I live in Waikiki, it was not really prevalent. Now it's like everywhere. They're camping out in the parks. They're sleeping on the sidewalks and the bus stops. So that's a big thing. The government throws money at it, okay? But it's not getting resolved. More of the nonprofits need to get involved in it. And that's one of my pushes. Obviously, the economy in Hawaii, it takes longer to build up in Hawaii because we're an island nation. And we don't have, trains coming in, and everything's by jet or boat. So naturally grown products, vegetables and fruits, yes, we have a lot of that. But we don't have timber, we don't have cement, we don't build automobiles, so all that stuff has to be imported. Hence, we have one of the highest costs of housing and living in the United States, probably in the world. So when the general election is running that day, you'll see two numbers on the screen, okay? One will be the popular vote, okay? Then you'll see another small number, 3 digits, okay? That's put out by the Electoral Colleges, okay? Now, an Electoral College is basically the states have, based on the number of senators or congressmen a state has, they'll have that many electoral people.
Right.
And these are just people, average people, who work for their particular party, volunteer, and they're chosen to be the electoral person for that state, for that party.
Okay.
So what happens is, you'll see, for example, in 2000, when Al Gore won the popular vote, he lost to the Electoral College.
Right.
And so it went to Congress, and Congress makes the final decision on it. So that's one of the few times in history that that's happened. But the Electoral College basically follows the popular vote, but they don't have to.
Right.
So in a nutshell, that's kind of how it works. A lot of people will go, he's really popular, he's this, that. It's the Electoral College that's going to make the final determination.
I think the homeless, what you're talking about in a way, I think it's a very good point. And I mean, how do you sort of suppress yourself from getting into the political side of, like, when you see somebody spending so many millions and dollars or whatever on something, and you think to yourself, well, hang on, that could house another 50,000 people. Do you sort of have to bite your tongue on that, or?
No, you can be outspoken. You can state your point when you're making your stump speech, or you're making your political campaign. But you've got to get people to believe in you. Number one, you've got to get endorsements. Endorsements from like-minded people. A lot of non-like-minded people would like to endorse me, but I don't want their endorsement.
Right.
I don't want big oil company endorsements. I don't want that kind of stuff. I want, social. I want
Everyday people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, people that are environmentally conscious and that want to see make a difference, because we can make a difference. Taking a homeless person off the street, providing them with housing, instead of putting them in shelters, and I've gone to feed these guys, through my university alumni. We go 3 times a week. We go out to the parks, we go to the shelters, and we feed them at least their best meal of the day.
Right.
It's the least best we can do, and it's provided for by my ex-university, my alumni, and that's their only meal that day.
Yeah.
There's social workers that go out to the park.
Yeah.
There are obviously problems when these people get sick and the ambulance has to come. It would save states, and it's been proven, it saves states somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $30,000 per person per year by providing them housing and letting 2 or 3 people in a house, and letting those people have one social worker assigned to maybe 10 people in the same building, instead of being spread out.
Very good work.
And of all places, Utah has reduced their homelessness by 85%
Wow.
using this
That's-
program. The housing is different, though. Housing in Hawaii is expensive.
Yeah.
So there are other things that they can do to attack it, but they're just kind of like, well, we'll give them a ticket back to America, to the mainland, excuse me. I shouldn't say America. Hawaii is America. But they turn around and come right back.
Yeah. We've talked quite a lot about your side from the politician side.
Sure.
I would imagine there's quite a few Americans who have retired over here in
Yes.
the last 4 years. How would they vote in the election? How does it work from an overseas voter point of view?
That's excellent. There is a website that they can go to. It's fvap.com,
Right.
www, which means Federal Voting Assistance Program. It's designed for militaries outside of the U.S., business people outside of the U.S. They can go on there, find their home state,
Right.
even if nobody's ever lived there. They can pick a home state that they want to use, and then they can register to vote online.
Right.
They can get their ballot online. And in some cases, the states will allow you to vote online. Not too many. California does. And it depends on the county clerk in the state that you're working in. So, for example, Hawaii, you can do it.
Right.
Other people got to fax it in. Then, of course, they have the snail mail process for some of the
Okay.
other places. And that's like, you got to really get started, because some of these primaries are already over.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, they start in March in Alabama.
Yeah.
And the last one is somewhere, I think it's in Rhode Island or something like that,
Right.
in September.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, we got 2 months and we got the general.
Yeah, it's all coming very fast.
It does, you're right, it comes quick.